You are listening Fratelli di Rugby podcast. Enjoy.
Tutti benvenuti a un nuovo episodio. Welcome in a new episode of Fratelli di Rugby podcast, special edition on Friday. Special edition, special guests, special everything. Mike, do you feel special?
I think I feel a little bit less special than some of the people watching, but yeah, no, I I feel good today. I feel good, mate. I'm really excited to have our guest back on. Obviously, those of you guys who've seen the what we put out on social media, he's a friend of the pod, really nice guy. And
Third time on the podcast.
Third time, mate.
Third time.
Yeah.
Record holder on the podcast. More him than Phantom, one of our friends already in the chat. So I'm really happy to welcome back here Dave Sisi in a new role. Dave, ciao. Come stai? How are you?
Buonasera. Good to be back. I'm going to have to start invoicing you. I didn't realize I was a record holder.
Record holder, yes. From France and from the summer in England, I remember.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Undefeated.
You are our first guest. So
and now you look at you. You've got graphics, you've got logos.
Yeah, it's all fancy now, mate.
Yeah.
I remember when you guys were humble.
Yeah, I know.
Humble guys in front of the mic.
Canva, YouTube, make magics. So
yeah, monetization
for the special pod.
Remember when we were humble?
So
I don't know.
Absolutely humble. Let me put the face in another position. Of course, we're gonna read the chat on YouTube and Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever. We're gonna be around. So, Mike, I will ask one thing just to jump into the conversation randomly. Dave, where has been the best terzo tempo where you've been part of?
Wow. Depends what the criteria is.
You pick your criteria, the best for you, the best.
Well, the Frenchies put on a great spread, mate. So I'm thinking Toulouse, Toulon, some of those big marquees where they've unlimited beers and buffets. That's all good stuff. The Frenchies know what they're doing. But you can't beat, I played at Leeds 16 games, stuff like that. Terzo tempo was not at the stadium, let me tell you. It was in the nightlife afterwards. You can't beat some of those northern cities, and Newcastle, Leeds, even the scene in Scotland's not bad. So some of those spots are not too bad at all. But I'll tell you what, and I'll vouch for my own club here, Zebre Parma. We're putting a lot of investment into our terzo tempos. I don't know if you boys need to come up to Parma and experience it. We've got DJs, we've got dancers, we've got everything you could want. So it's we've upped our level also on the old terzo tempo.
And talking about terzo tempo, I guess last weekend the terzo tempo was something special, just to keep pushing the word.
One or two, mate.
How good was? Can confirm, Joshua. Dave, Joshua is a Zebre, really strong voice on Reddit and stuff, and in our chat
and
about
my guy.
Zebre.
It means he's my guy then. If anyone strong on Zebre is my guy. Yeah, no, mate. Look, last weekend was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. More for the on-field performance, mate, it was mad. I was joking with the boys afterwards. Obviously, I've been battling for seven years for Zebre, and then obviously been in and around professional rugby for 14 years now. Played Munster a few times and never got the victory. Second game of me packing it all in, boys decide to rock up and put a performance like that against Munster and get the win. I was bloody livid. So no, I was joking. No, the boys are awesome, mate. It was a great performance. And obviously, I'm proud of my little pack. They really stepped up because Munster are Munster, mate. They're the champions of Europe and all sorts. They're a historic club. So, mate, awesome result.
Yeah, mate. They were obviously they're big old beasts and they're hard to put down. And there was definitely it was one of those games where you could just feel the momentum swing in one way and another. And then there was it was nice to see us win those key moments where, 2 years from where a lot of these boys had started, recently sort of promoted from the academy into Zebre, and you started to see sort of where it clicked, and that it's just nice to start to see a game like that, a performance like that is definitely like telling of the experiences that they've, you know, you boys as a team have been in the past. And there was like I said, those key little moments where something could have gone drastically the other way, and like you found, like the boys found a way. And you know, I think, you know, from yourself as well, transitioning into this new role and sort of having, like you said, a bit of pride in what you're seeing on the pitch from the boys' perspective, it must be like quite satisfying from you. And I suppose, is it bittersweet still, or is it just now sweet? You quite
no, it's weird. Actually, we had team run today, obviously, and weirdly, one of our physios actually came up to me, and he was like, you know, week after that, you must be sort of missing it. And look, I'm two games in. I have no doubt that it's going to come around and bite me on the ass when I say this. But at the moment, I'm so into what I'm doing at the moment. I've not dwelled on that too much. The first thing that I thought was like, okay, transitioning into coaching, that, you know, I'm not going to get those sort of emotional highs, you know, that sort of pressure before a game, that sort of feeling, going out with the lads, all the rest of it. But I don't know if you'd have a player cam or a coach's cam on me on that staff box. I'm standing up and down, jumping around, blooming, chasing Massimo up and down the stairs. I'm doing all sorts. So I was
Sisi mic'd up, mate. That's what I want to see.
No, that cannot happen. It's great content for you. You'll get a few more adverts and monetization, but no, I'll be in big trouble. No, it was good. It was good. I really enjoyed it. You know, really enjoyed it. And obviously, there's like sort of 10 minutes to go when, as you say, like the game was ebbing and flowing. You know, it could have easily gone either way, but then we just started winning those little battles off the top of my head. And I was so present and just enjoying that moment. It was, look, as I said to you, 7 years of me trying to turn over any Irish team, you know, to go and do it. Munster at home, second game in was nice.
Dave, I think one of the happiest moments for you as a lineout coach was when the team decided to jump and steal that ball with Canali, I guess, on the 5 meters line. Something really crazy if you think, because we always waiting for, okay, they're gonna push the maul, but they went to battle and they jumped there.
I can't be giving away all my secrets here. I'm here chatting with a blooming rugby analyst. You know what I mean? He knows everything. He already knows all the plan. No, I'm joking. No, look, like one thing I can say is, look, I think we're a team that cannot necessarily sort of do the same thing every time. You know, we've not got you know, seasoned international players that are going to do the same thing. We have to express ourselves. I really believe that we have to express ourselves. We have to enjoy playing rugby. That's what I've always felt anyway from being inside the playing group. So just having the opportunity to come in and influence some of that stuff has been, it's been really refreshing. And as I said, enjoying it at the moment.
I'm glad. I think one thing that, you know, we spoke about, and for those guys who haven't listened to sort of the previous pods with Dave, I definitely would, you know, invite you to have a listen to a few of those. But obviously Dave has come from, you know, a really interesting team at the under-20s. There was a point on WhatsApp where I messaged Dave because there was signatures from like an array of, I think, your year at under-20s, and I was just trying to work out where you were. So you've come from obviously multiple different backgrounds. Like you said, you were at Leeds as well, and obviously I've got good friends at Leeds, and you, before obviously the economic downturn, they were a very, very well established team that had fantastic academy, etc.
Yeah.
You've had all of those experiences. How has that now culminated in terms of like your almost like ethos as a coach? Like, because you said rugby is about having fun. 100% agree with you, and I think like you saw that at the end. It was cathartic. It was like emotional. You can see the boys were really enjoying it. How have you transitioned that ethos, and how's it working with sort of the new coaching staff as well? Because Brunello strikes me as quite a like a militant like coach. You're quite not, do you know what I mean? Like quite sort
established
of like
in the Italian rugby. Anyway.
The word it's like militant. Like this is what we need to do to succeed. And then I think you come in and just like sort of mix it up. So in your own words, mate, how is it that you found sort of the blend?
Yeah, look, so I'll start on my experience. So if you look at my career, I mean, it's been a funny one as far as my first year, we under England under 20s, we went down South Africa and we placed 7th, which I think was the worst ever placing for an under 20s team ever at a Junior World Cup. We then came back the next year and we won the thing, and I was in that team as well. Then came back to London Irish, went through some trials and tribulations there, which led to me moving to Bath. Then all my injury woes started there, and through my 4-year period at Bath, I've gone through all the injury experiences that all these young players go through. So when I'm seeing these guys sitting on the sidelines at the moment, I'm completely empathetic from where they are, especially at the age that they're at as well, because we haven't got any sort of old senior dudes that are breaking down particularly. These are all young, hungry guys that want to be playing. I'm just looking at them going, yeah, know that, been there. So injury woes, and then we went to a Premiership final. So I've had the highs of being within a group of the Premiership final. Within that, played with some of the best players in the world. You're looking at British and Irish Lions that have gone on tour. I've been in and amongst that for a large part of my early career, and then come over to Italy after another long injury. Came to Italy, and Zebre turned my career around. Those injury woes went away for whatever reason. Never played so much rugby. Moved into obviously back row into the second row, which I think was a great decision. So, mate, to answer your question, I've lived it all. I got relegated with London Irish. I went on loan and went to the Championship playoffs with Leeds. Like, I've been to I'm not saying I've done everything, but I've done every high and low, that there is in the game, more or less. So I've experienced pretty much everything that you can experience in a rugby career, obviously at varying levels. And that's just what I wanted to really bring to the boys in a sort of coaching role, because, as I say, I can empathise with the guys in different positions, and it's just different. It's just different. The game's moved on. Even in my 10, 14 years of playing, when I was, it sounds silly, but like the first training sessions I was doing, there was no such thing as GPS. You were judged on whether the coach thought you were being loud enough and whether they thought you were running fast enough. I remember actually being told that I wasn't allowed to wear black boots by one of my academy coaches, because it made me look slow. The fact that I was slow didn't matter, but if I wore white boots, it made me look faster. So like silly things like that. But now it's GPS, so you can't hide. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's all silly things like that. But they're all just experiences. And then to come to your point with Brunello's he's a great man. Like, I'm really enjoying working with him at the moment. That staff that we've got in at the club at the moment, everyone's working very hard, very, very hard. And we know that we've got to do these boys justice as well. We've got too many good young Italians who are hungry to do better. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the coaching staff's really aligned. That's probably the best way I can put it. Everyone's got different personalities, but everyone has different personalities. But we are very much an aligned coaching group, and just enjoy coming to work. I mean, this week's been a joy, obviously, after the back of a win. But if you're looking at the process and what we went through, it's not been that different, even from the Oyonnax game that we had in pre-season to Glasgow to Cardiff. We know what needs to be done, and we'll see how far that can take us ultimately.
One couple of questions, because how it happened, Dave, to come to Italy and go play to Zebre? Who contacted you? How was the process when you came to Parma?
Yeah, well, I can probably speak about all this now, can't I? So it's like, so look, my injury. I'm not going to bore everyone going through them in injury list, but it was a bad injury. So the last one that finished me off at Bath. So started the first 3 games of the season, and then third game of the season, I got dumped on my back and had a fracture of my scapula, which is like a really rare injury. They see it mainly in jockeys and jockeys and motocross drivers or whatever, because they fall really hard on their back. They don't usually see it in rugby players, so it took them ages to find this fracture. So what happened was my arm actually turned off. The nerve was getting compressed by the swelling from the fracture, but they couldn't find the fracture, so they thought I'd just done nerve damage to my shoulder. And honestly, my arm was like this, floppy. It was mad. So everyone was looking at me going, career ender. It's all done. Luckily, they found the fracture swelling came down, and obviously I started getting the use of my arm, etc., etc. And then I came back after a long layoff, and then I think I went up to sort of London Scottish for a few games, and then it was obviously like, look, Dave, you can stay on here at Bath, but you've been injured, etc., etc. Deal's not very good, and you're going to have to wait for your opportunity. I was like, right, okay, brilliant. No, I'm Italian qualified, and also looking further afield to some of the French sides back then, I remember. And just to be honest with you, it was the Italian move that made sense. It was interesting because I arrived when the club was going through a really rocky time. Thankfully, we moved on from that real quickly when I first arrived, and then we went on to have 2 really good years with Mike Bradley. So it's just funny how these things work out. But the actual phone call is all done, to be honest with you, it's done through agents and all the rest of it. Obviously, Conor O'Shea was around, and I would have played against Harlequins, when I was at London Irish and Bath plenty of times. So Conor knew who I was. I'm sure that Mike played a part, and obviously being at London Irish, there's all these Irish connections. So there was lots of different connections. The rugby world's a small world, I've come to learn, You think we think it's a big world. It's not. It's a really small world, and it's an even more niche bubble than we probably think. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't a single person that I could name you that sort of brought me to Italy as such. But it was a combination of sort of everything just lining up and making sense. Like, I needed the club. I needed to find a club that was going to give me game time, because again, I was, young, wanting to play, and they said, look, come here, you're going to play. And I was like, brilliant. And obviously the club at the time needed a bit of reinforcement, and then we went on to have 2 great years. So it was really good timing.
Mike.
Yeah, no. Obviously, for me, you've had such a, like you said, such a long playing career, especially after what potentially could have, like you said, been a career ender in more ways than one if they hadn't found the fracture. And like you said, after a prolonged period off the pitch, like, who knows what happens. This professional sport, and rugby is no different to any other professional sport in that manner. So which stadium, and like I said, doesn't necessarily have to be in Italy, it could be some of the times that you played in Europe, it could be international, it could be your time in Prem, which stadium did you enjoy playing in the most, and why?
I have to say, there's something very special about a Bath, the Rec under lights on a Friday night. And also just being in the middle of the city. There's just got that sort of feel, and you sort of drive in. That's definitely special. One of the maddest atmospheres that I've ever played in, and it's probably not great bringing this up, but it was actually the tour over in Georgia. That hostile atmosphere, where every single person in that seat wanted to kill us, and I'm there on the bench. Tell you what,
you felt it.
That was an interesting one. But then also the French teams. Yeah, look, I mean, there's so many good French teams as well, with good atmospheres as well. I think my favourite time to play a game of rugby is a Friday night under the lights. They're the real special games for me as far as creating that atmosphere. You can just see past the floodlights; it's just pitch black, and then you've just got this big game going on. To be fair, sold out Rec's probably up there.
Nice. I was also going to quickly ask if it's all right, and then I'll pass back to you. In terms of, like, again, now, this season, how did how much of last game's result was accumulation of, like, the work? We've spoken a lot about the mental side of the game, and we talk about how important that is, particularly in a young crop of players. How much of that do you think is down to you guys, obviously, as the coaches, or also down to sort of the experiences that these players have had, and like the lows that they've experienced? Because like you said, you've experienced everything as a player. You can articulate what people expect, and you can articulate, like, and empathize with potentially positions they're in. How much of that is due to, like, how much they've experienced already as a team in the past 2 seasons, the heartache, the close almost victories?
It's definitely the players, mate, and I can say that because I've been in the playing group, and I know that they've always had it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a close group, and we've suffered together for many years for reasons that are often out of our control. Yeah, but they will still rock up every week. So, as a coach, you point them, and you do your best to point players in the right direction. And I'm talking as a coached for 2 months here. I'm not trying to preach that. I know
No.
everything, but do you know what I mean? In my experience anyway, it's I point them in the right direction. I have an idea of how I think my area of the game should be played, and then it's all down to them at the end of the day. And again, that feeling of me being in that stand and looking down at the boys and just watching them work, but having the confidence, knowing that, okay, whatever they throw at us, I'm prepared the boys well. We've had a good training week. We should be okay. That's how I know that it's definitely from the players. And I would say in particular this playing group, because it's a playing group, as you said, that have had, a particular amount of heartache over the years. And it's a young group that aspires for an awful lot more, and they deserve an awful lot more. So me as a coach, that's just, I just want to play my part in helping some of these boys achieve what they want to achieve. I'd love to see more of our guys, obviously, in the national team. When I first arrived at Zebre, we were contributing anywhere between 12 and 16 players, I think, off the top of my head. In the first couple of years that I arrived, completely different dynamic of the club, mind, because we had senior players everywhere. But at the moment we're contributing 2 or 3, I think, consistently. So I'd like to see, of course, I'd like to see a lot of our boys challenging for those international shirts. But with that, obviously, they need to be playing at an international level, and they need to be showing that they can do that. So, that's where I've got to step in at club level and pass on what I can to make sure that they're putting as much pressure on those selectors as possible.
Dave, this weekend is already another challenging but exciting time playing against Stormers. And we're going to see Dare for the first time starting. We saw already a couple of pieces of magic, the Bertaccini try from his hands, and even the true line breaks on the side for Crisciantelli striking from one of his hands. But we saw also Locatelli, Bertaccini, all these new boys. They are bringing a lot of... They want to conquer the world, sounds like, right?
Mate, they are men without fear at the moment. As those new boys coming in is the best way I can describe them. Look, they've had a great pre-season, pre-season, and also obviously start of the season. Jackie's got loads of experience. I'd have loved him to have come to us a few years earlier. He'll tell you that if you ever ask him. I would have loved him to come to us a little bit earlier. I've got a lot of time for Jackie. I think Monty's also had a really good start to the season as well. So we're in a really good place as far as those boys. And then, as you say, those permit players they're just on fire at the moment. So, look, there's lots of things to get excited about. We are feet on the ground. We know exactly who we are, where we've been. We are feet on the ground. But you've got to call out a good performance for a good performance, and those guys are doing the business at the moment, and we've just got to try and keep that consistency going forward.
Just on the Dare comment, if that's right. I remember during the World Cup, I think we'd spoken to you maybe a week or two beforehand, and there was a point where we thought Dare might start, and we asked Toa at the time. I was like, how's Dare training? And he was like, he does stuff that our other 10s can't do, and it's a comment that I've held on to, and now in snippets you start to see like how he takes it to the line and how he sees the game. That could be he could be a really interesting player, not only for Zebre but obviously the national side. And to your point previous about the amount of players that you've contributed, we actually went through this exercise in our chat, and we're like, realistically, if the players play at the standard that they did last weekend, and it's something that they can consistently do without, knocking on wood, injuries or anything that takes consistently, like it's going to be a real headache for the selectors, not only this autumn but next Six Nations. So it's nice to hear you say about Dare as well, like you've been trying to pinch him and stuff.
For anyway, I mean, I'm completely and utterly, totally biased to my club. I mean,
I know.
I've been too many years in now to not be completely biased. I'm actually So
go hard or go home, mate.
All I'll say is this: is that Jackie should be, he should be picked for his mustache alone. He's got the best tash in the URC. So, yeah,
I like it, and I like the Locatelli mullet as well. He's got the old Hamish look.
Yeah, he's mean, man. He's mean. He's a good operator, Locker.
all those mullets going around, people dancing, like Phantom was saying in the chat. But there's also players from the other team, from Benetton Treviso, that just say, "Legend Sisi, what are we doing?" Is Seb on Instagram just posted. You cannot read it on this, but
I can't see the instas. No, I can't. No. Lovely wedding, Seba. You'll, if I can say, you'll see it on a streaming website soon, no doubt. Some boy, our Seba.
Yeah, no, he's a good bloke. He's a good bloke. So yeah, I think
he's all right.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, it's all right. No, he's a good bloke. I think, from my side, one thing that really I'm quite looking forward to is obviously not only this coming weekend, and I think I put it in the actual post that I put out for this particular podcast, which is we potentially have quite a unique opportunity where people could have put anything on this team, and you know how it is with Italian rugby. You always know when we play really well and we win, it's always someone else or something else. It's a really good opportunity for an acid test. And you said the feet are on the ground and everyone knows what they want to do. Like, how much are the players feeling that as well? Obviously without pressure, like without the pressure of having to have to win, but how much do they know that it's a good opportunity to shut people up?
Well, look, it's a good question. Understand that we've not been in a position. I mean, I'm absolutely not saying that we're favourites whatsoever, but you know what I mean. What you're saying is that the sort of pressure, the expectation on having to win a game,
it's different this time, isn't it?
It's. I think it's more that we've got an internal pressure on boys. Boys understand that they have to do their job to a certain level. I think that's something that we perhaps missed in the past. I think with having a collective group, having every individual within the side understanding that they need to operate at a certain level for us to have a chance at being successful. Obviously, there's no secret formula. There's no speech, pre-match speech, all this sort of stuff. I mean, I really try to speak as little as possible, to be honest with you, and let the boys figure out the situations. And I think the more you can expose the guys to problem solving within the sort of parameters of rugby, the more confidence they actually get, because they've got more solutions themselves. So to come back to your question, I'd like to think that the main pressure that we have going into any match, doesn't matter who we're playing at this point, especially after the pre-season that we've just had, is that the guys understand the tasks that need to be carried out within every sort of department in the club, be that attack, defense, line out, scrum. And then I'd ask them just to go out there and do everything with purpose, which is a bit of a mantra of mine for this year. I just ask that the boys do everything for a reason. And so far, we're only 2 games into the URC. It's worked all right. But yeah, I think as you say, I think the main pressure comes from the boys. Hopefully, I'd like to think that anyway.
Good.
Dave, how much it helped the stadium having those guys screaming with flags and loads of beers, supporting every moment in the last couple of years? How much it helped?
I actually had a beer with them after the game. I had a beer with them, and I said that they've very quickly become our 16th man. But not only that, they've been with us through some of the darkest times, and they're still there every week banging the drum. So when we do have that, I don't know if you've got the video. You boys are going to have to find this clip. Leo Krumov running over.
Jumping
over and completely stacking. Unbelievable. Played it in our forwards meeting on Monday. It was unbelievable. Yeah, so like those moments, we lived those moments together. Like we've all lived those bad times together. So when we get that victory, or we get that moment to really celebrate together, man, we live for that. Yeah, we live for those moments. And yeah, no, as you say, like they've been thick and thin, rain, shine. They've been there banging the drum, waving the flag. They keep upgrading every year, I've noticed as well. They've got t-shirts and everything this year. So a bit like your podcast, they're just an evolving, and one day they'll be a monster,
Yeah, good on them. Like they can't be stopped. Yeah. I was going to say, just to echo like the sentiment, it felt different at the weekend, and long may that continue. And I had a conversation pre-season with a couple of the Irish boys and like a preview podcast, and they just had a representative of everyone. And one thing which I really do hope to see this season, and hopefully we see it in the turnstiles next week or this weekend, excuse me, is more of that, more noise, more like, you know, like you said, banging the drums, and it just means more bums on seats. And, you know, it's a parallel to Benetton, you know, however many years ago, 5-6 years ago. I think, you know, there's a clip going around, I posted it, of, you know, Kane mentioning that it felt like that sort of moment for Benetton when they beat Ulster, and it's felt like that sort of moment last weekend. So hopefully, moving forward, we see this, like you said, can't be stopped. Big old beast keep growing.
Yeah. I mean, I do think with you know, the things that we've implemented or that have been implemented in the last few years, you know, with the est guys, with the decent terzo tempo and all this sort of stuff, it's there. You know, there's the foundations are there to make every sort of home game that's in Parma a real event. Yeah. I think that's what it has to be. I think people have to, you know, really enjoy coming to watch the brand of rugby that we're playing, obviously. Then all those other little things, as you say, are real important. So I'd agree with you. In short, you know, I'd love to see you know, the city of Parma really backing this side. I think, as I've said you know, since I've got here, the potential's there. You know, I've always believed in the potential of Parma. You know, you only got to see the following of sort of the football side and all the rest of it. I'm from a football city as well, Southampton. See
Southampton.
Yeah, there we go. You see how you know, I shouldn't actually be talking about them too much.
Yeah, you should.
Especially with Zebre online. My point is, you know, I can see how a city can back a team, you know, when they just make that choice and they get that connection. And I do believe that this is a team that people can connect with if we can, you know, I don't know what the sort of means to make that happen. But I think if people buy into this team because it's so young and it's potentially so exciting, it's definitely something that,
Dave,
that we can create.
If I may, very quickly, I noticed there's this. You talking about how rugby is a small world, and we know it's particularly a small world in Italy. There's a guy commenting called Paolo, and from memory, I think he's an admin on one of the URC sites, and he had like this really sort of quite emotional post about you, saying that you're one of his favorite players, this, that, and the other. When you announced your retirement and then obviously subsequent coaching. So there you go, Paolo. I said we were going to be speaking to him. Here he is, mate. So good to have you on as well.
Well, big up, Paolo.
Yeah, good man.
I have a couple of questions from our Patreons, because to get all this stuff going on, we need Patreons too for
fancy stuff
for our podcast. So of course,
tell you what, lads, you're rinsing the viewers, eh? You're rinsing them.
Yeah. So, but one question from Robbie, from Roberto, he's a statsman, but he works for Stats for Real. And I'm going on how much time you spend watching lineouts, gathering stats with the video analyst during the week. Is it more screen time than ever in your life?
Oh yeah. I knew that was coming though. It sounds really silly, but obviously the 2 years that I've just done 2 years of coaching with Rugby Parma as well as playing. Exactly. And it sounds silly, but I put way too much time. I put way too much time into that job, to be honest with you. I did so much analysis for those boys. So I knew the sort of rhythm of sort of, you know, preview, review, and just quite how long that sort of stuff takes. And you'll be surprised. I mean, I tried to put together sort of videos that are no more than 2 minutes, and I reckon it probably. And I'm not bad with IT, but I'm certainly not. You know, I'm not like a wizard like some of our analysts are, even at Zebre. But I reckon for me to put like a 2-minute video together with sort of all the messages and video clips that I want probably takes me 2 hours. Like, it's terrible, man. Like, it takes me ages. But you know, hopefully I'm going to get more efficient as I sort of find my mode of transmitting my messages and stuff like that. You know, a sports code I've obviously been familiar with and I've used for years as well. But obviously getting that as a coach is a completely different package, and the stats that come along with that. You know, and there are various other sort of, we use Huddle and all these other sort of things. So Mate, the answer is a lot of time. It is a lot of time. It's a lot of video, particularly in something sort of as clear cut as line out. Everyone studies everyone and trying to pick up tricks and all the rest of it. I couldn't give you a number. A lot of time. It is a lot of time on video.
That's a lot. Mike, we have another 5 minutes, something like that.
Are you good for another 5?
Yeah, go on, mate. Yeah, we're all good. Go on, yeah.
Fire out, Mike.
Yeah, no. To be honest with you, I enjoy these chats. I don't have too many questions. I didn't really come with too many questions prepared because, I know organically, like, these are always very easy conversations to have, so we don't really have to force anything. But I suppose for me, and taking aside what you said about sort of the players and the contribution to sort of the national team, what would you consider a success, this, aside from like points and talking about like positioning and stuff? What would you consider a success outside of all of that this year?
There's two things that I've got to achieve this year, isn't there? So I've got to get my coaching down, to a decent, efficient level. New in at this level, and it's a very high level. The URC operates at an incredibly high level. Like, we don't need to beat around the bush as far as some of the teams that we compete against here. So that was, to be honest with you, a large part of the appeal. To test yourself against the best. It's something that I've always done and believed in. So from a coaching point of view, I've got that sort of personal success. To obviously in 12 months' time to turn around and go, yeah, I'm a better, more efficient coach, and I've got very clear philosophies, etc., etc. And then from a team point of view, mate, again, it's when you look at our group, we just want them to keep growing. And then different guys, I often tell guys not to compare careers, because if you fall into a trap very quickly if you are constantly comparing yourself with others, as far as, this guy's achieved this, I should be achieving this, etc., etc. And again, I'll come back to my own example. So, that's some of those 20s teams that I played in. A lot of those guys went on to have, amazing sort of Lions in England careers, but they might not have had the setbacks or anything like that. Everyone's on their own trajectories. Not that those guys don't have setbacks, but it's not to compare. So I think if I, from a human side, can influence and help the guys as much as possible, and we take another step forward from going from sort of boys to men, if you like. Not that they are boys, but for want of a better word.
It's the mental side we were talking about as well. I completely understand.
Yeah. Because there's obviously, I can sit here and reel off a list of things technically and tactically we need to get better, etc., etc. That'll all come. But I think, because remember that this playing group also, I played with, nearly all of them that, for a large part. A lot of them are close mates, teammates. They're people that I respect. So, if I can help them, that human side, and then that will, I truly believe that will influence the on-field stuff as well. For me, a success is, as I say, is if I can grow that human side of the club a little bit and help the boys. Then for me, that's a success, because I think the other things will come if we manage to achieve that. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah, I agree. Otto, last word with you, my friend.
No, well, just to say thank you, grazie Dave, because it's always a pleasure for real putting new records on the podcast. All
right. Well, I want to hold on to the record now. All right.
That's
it. I'm always on my laptop anyway, so I'll do a bit of analysis and just stick you boys on in the background.
With your in between your like 4.5 hours editing the line out.
No. Good luck for the weekend, and of course, hopefully Dweba will keep throwing badly as he usually do. So that always help.
No, I tell you what, mate. I come home to the two kids, and I'm thinking, I come home to work. I'm sitting in front doing line out analysis. That's the easy bit.
Yeah. You're like, oh, you're saying, because the miss is actually listening. You're like, oh yeah, like it takes me hours. You actually got it after 5 minutes.
I've got to be careful what I say. She's probably in earshot.
Yeah, right. But yeah, listen, mate, just echoing what Otto said, like always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and obviously best of luck this weekend. Best of luck for the rest of the season. Forza Zebre. That's it.
No, cheers, lads. Yeah, no, and yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'll obviously keep in touch with you, and mate, happy to come on. Happy to come on whenever you want me.
We'll come to Parma so we can have some fun there.
Terzo
We'll,
tempo,
Yes.
amico mio.
Yeah.
Andiamo.
Another
Yeah,
terzo tempo, perfetto.
Nice.
So thank you everyone. Grazie a tutti. Dave, don't go away. I'm gonna just start the outro and then we leave. Just to remind to support Fratelli di Rugby, subscribing to the channel. If you want to subscribe more, offering a beer for the terzo tempo, there is the Patreon, Instagram, X, and me and Mike, 2 beers, 1 pod.
Buy him a beer. The nice lads. Buy him a beer.
Bye. So thank you everyone. Ciao.